Hello everyone, my name is Corazar, and welcome back to the Vintage Story Guide. We are back in the world on this very last day of March. It is March 9th, and that means it is spring, sort of. In the last episode, we got to work, and we built our very own brand new kitchen in what is the start of what will be our new and forever home. And I am liking how it came out, and I cannot wait to fill these shelves and cover these countertops with vessels and stack firewood in a corner somewhere and have breakfast at our breakfast bar. This episode we are going to focus on this room right over here, where I need a whole lot of this to combine with this to make a whole lot of this, to combine with these, to make a whole bunch of these, to combine into these. That's right, we are going to build our storage room here, and fill it with as many trunks as we possibly can. Also, plenty of crates. However, we are kind of short on at least one of these materials, that being the wood. Because while we have a few logs of walnut and oak here, and a little bit of pine, and a little bit more back at home, we are really short on wood. And so I thought that today we could take a two birds, one stone approach and get a little bit of wood cutting done, but also a bit of resin finding and marking. Because as we start to build out our house and we get new machines and new features that we want to add, we're going to need some resin, and not just some, lots of it. But before we get to that, there are a couple things I want to do first. And one of which is I want to show you some improvements I have made to our chicken coop to keep the popcorn chicken from popping out of their pan. So you will hear, firstly, that we have a whole bunch of little piglets wandering around and running around and getting caught in the door that I was hoping they would not get caught in. Oh well. Anyway, you'll see that the chicken coop area has been partly ceilinged off here. Since the chickens were getting into the corners and then popping up, I figure if they can't get to the corners or the edges, they can't do the popcorn act, can they? So now we have notably fewer chickens now than before. I did go ahead and I culled basically all of our chickens, but we now have, if I can focus on you, a Generation 1 hen, a Generation 1 rooster, and another Generation 1 hen. If I can... Nope. You don't want to be focused on, that's fine. But we're going to leave them alone there and head over to our buddy the agriculture trader, because I noticed that there was something that they wanted that we can produce. There you are. Goodness, I thought you disappeared. Alright, Yoskalo. Yoskalo here is looking for a bismuth bronze knife, and they are willing to pay 7 gears for it. And that's actually, I think, a pretty good deal, considering we could also get a whopping 3 gears for a tin bronze hoe, or 6 gears for a black bronze hoe. I think this is a great price. So, I brought along a bismuth bronze knife, and we are going to sell that to Yoskalo. In return, I want to buy a couple tree seeds, namely the redwood seed and a kapok seed. Because we can't get these trees up here in the north, we would have to travel a very long way away to get them. Now, I do intend on making that trek at some point, but I wanted to get a bit of a head start on these wood types. Thank you, Yoskalo. And we are going to plant the kapok probably pretty close to the house. We'll do you, say, here. And the redwood, and yes, this is going to turn into a redwood. That's going to go there, because we need a lot of space for this guy. Well, hopefully. If you tuned into the last season, or the first season of the guide series, you know the trouble we had with getting tall redwoods. The second thing that I wanted to cover is that since it's getting towards spring, we need to think about planting some crops again. Because our storage here is, okay, not actually getting low, but let's pretend it was getting low. And yeah, we should start planting crops, especially things like flax and so on. But it is still pretty early in the season. And I've been keeping an eye on the temperatures, because each type of crop has a minimum and a maximum temperature that it will withstand before it starts to wither and wilt and become damaged or even die out entirely. So you'll see here that we have a couple crops, such as the parsnip and the rye, that can go down to -10 or lower. We also have exactly one carrot seed, but whatever. A lot of our crops go down to -5, like the turnips, the cabbage, the flax, and the spelt, and a few of them don't get down that far at all. Onions are only good until -1, and the rice seeds we found in a vessel are only cold resistant to 8 degrees. That's positive Celsius. So we have to be pretty careful about when we actually plant these. And so I've been keeping an eye on the temperature up here throughout the nights, and I've been waiting for the first night that it got down to only -5 as the lowest temperature. And that was pretty much last night. There was one night previously that got down to like -6. But I like to give myself about a 5-degree buffer because there is a good chance, or there is a chance, that you might end up with a cold snap where you might have had several 5-degree or -5-degree nights in a row, and then suddenly, bam, the game hits you with a -10 and all your crops die. So I wanted to wait until that threat was mostly over, and that way if we do get a cold snap, well, we will be planting only the crops that can withstand it. So I'm going to pull out the parsnips, which we have never actually planted, and the rye. And we're just going to plant these two. The carrots I'm not super interested in, although, you know what, we may as well plant this one seed we have. And we're going to check out our plots here and see which ones we can plant which crops in. It looks like we can do K in either of these, and P or N in one of the other two. So let's see here. We can do single carrot right there. And then over here we will do N, and over here we will do P. And again, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So, N's going in here. That means it is time for the rye. There we go. And then over here and over there, we will plant our parsnips, which actually is going to be just over here, because we have exactly 16. But Corazar, didn't you say a while back that you don't really like parsnips? Well, yes, that is kind of true. Actually, it's very true. But I've kind of changed my mind a little bit. You see, back when I started playing, parsnips were patently worse than onions, because although the parsnips could handle the lower temperatures, they took like twice as long to grow. Nowadays, parsnips only take 1 day longer, and they also don't use very many nutrients from the ground, only 20 phosphorus. And what we can do here is we can kind of start our growing season earlier than we could if we were just planting onions and flax and so on, and get just a bit of a head start on some of our crops. Now, that does mean that we're not going to get our onions and our spelt in the ground as early as, now, or as early as we would if we had waited maybe a few more days until our lowest temperature is about 0 degrees at night. But that's okay, because we're not really taking away the ability to plant most of our flax, because we only have the one carrot seed here, and the parsnips are a complete drop-in replacement for onions, so I'm not too worried about that. And it is also good to have a variety of grains, because if you are trying to make a decent amount of money from some traders, like the treasure hunter traders and the survival goods traders, then you want to make sure that you're getting a decent amount of different grains to bake bread for them, because they will buy bread made of flax, spelt, rye, and rice on a pretty regular basis. So it's a good idea to try to grow all 4 of them at some point, if you can. So, armed with our 3 axes and 2 sets of copper shears, we're going to go and head out to a place that we have not really been much yet. Oh, hello, Rift. And that is that up here on our ridge here, there is a small forest of larch and pine trees. And the larch trees are of interest to me. I do like the wood color. But the pine trees are also, because they are very prolific with both seeds and wood, and we're going to need a lot of wood for our chests. We're going to need something like 50 or so trunks, if not more, and that means that we're going to need 100 chests, so multiply that by 8 boards, and we need 800 boards, and that's a whole lot of wood. So I figured we're going to come up here and identify what pine trees are resin pine trees, and we won't cut them down. Everything else comes straight down. That way, when we want to come back and get some more resin, we can just go straight to the trees that we see are up because we know they will have resin on them. Let's get on up here and take a look at our first victim. This tree right here. So the shears, I'm not going to go nuts on the pine trees because pine trees already give a lot of sticks and pine cones. I'm just sort of using these to clear the way and take a look. I'm looking at the tooltip at the top of the screen more than I am at the actual tree trunk. So we don't have anything that says leaking resin here. But we will keep looking until we get to the top. It says nothing, so this tree gets to come down. That's one out of the way. So getting on up here, I spy our second victim. And once again, no resin. Now somewhere in here, I knew I have spotted the occasional larch tree, because I have come up near here before. Ah, there's one. But yes, we have a larch tree here, and this is actually one of the first tree types we saw in the series, but we kind of turn it into firewood before we did anything else with it. Of course, we didn't have a saw at the time anyway. But these trees are not terribly generous with their seeds, so unlike the pine trees, I will absolutely go ham on the shears with these trees, or on these trees with the shears, because I want to get some of these seeds here. So, I think you all get the gist of what I'm going to do here, and I'll be at this for a little while, but we will hopefully have enough wood by the time I'm done with this to fill out our storage room. Let's get to it. Alright everyone, we have made it home with quite the bounty of wood and unfortunately no resin. In addition to what we have in our backpack, we also have a basket mostly full of wood, like a half full of wood. I ended up leaving after I heard a few wolves and ended up, well, with enough wood that I think we can get started with our project here. But I did want to show you what this larch looks like when it is actually sliced up with a saw. Let's go ahead and do a bit of that first. So if you are new to the series, then you might not know, but larch is my favorite wood in the game. It is just a nice, bright, kind of pinkish, orangish peach color. I guess that peach is kind of pinkish orangish, isn't it? But yes, it is very light, it's very airy. It brings a lot of brightness to any room that you put it in. So I expect that we'll be using this at some point in our little hobbit hole build. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and tuck our larch away in here. I'm not going to be using the larch for things like chests and things where you're not going to see the wood color, because larch is pretty hard to grow. You'll see that we only got 6 larch seeds, despite me kind of really focusing on the larches with the shears, and with barely even trying, I got 29 pine seeds, and I mostly didn't shear out the pine trees. In fact, after I got through the larch trees, I just punched the pine leaves with a hand, and I still have 5 times as many seeds. Alright, well let's make it morning, and then let's go get started on our storage room. Alright everyone, it is morning. I'm going to grab this extra saw that we have, so I think we're going to need it soon. And we're going to head out to our soon-to-be home. Oh boy, and it is finally starting to thaw out there. I can hardly wait to get some greenery in here. And you'll see that although it got pretty cold last night, all of our crops are just fine. And you might be wondering why I didn't dig up our medium fertility soil and drop our terra preta in here. We have about a stack of that, which would do, I guess, most of our field here. We get 5, 6, 7, 8, so yes, so all but about 2 of these. But these aren't going to be our permanent forever fields. And I wanted to just hang on to it, because although with the Farmland Drop soil mod, we do get our soil back, I don't want to have to wait around for it to recover. I'd rather just pick it up and go. And the medium fertility soil will do us just fine this year. We don't need to have giant outputs of flax. But I wanted to lay out sort of a vision for you guys for what I want to do with this room. So we are, of course, going to have our exits here and over here. And I think we are going to have like a little bit of a hallway here. And then we'll have our animal pens, well, our animal barns, really, over here, here, and here. And just like over by our trader buddy, we will do basically 4x4 coops slash stables slash stalls. Running down the center here, I don't want to have a really cramped storage room, kind of like we did at Lupine Ridge, where I had like a sort of 1x1 hallway on the sides. And so what I'm going to do this season is we're going to have trunks rather than chests lining the walls here. And probably skip the door, and probably not here, I guess, because this goes into what will be our barrel room. And then we'll have trunks again on the walls over here. Well, lining the walls over here. And they will go from floor to ceiling, and I'm thinking we could even possibly dig the floor 1 block deeper. If I can find my pickaxe, there you are. So we could dig this a little bit deeper, have a stair block right here, and then put our trunks 4 blocks tall, starting with this single block inset. That way we can have a relatively tall storage block without actually being very high over our heads. That way we can keep with our low ceiling rule. Now the ceiling in here will be a little bit taller. I want to do sort of a rounded ceiling, like a very gentle slope warehouse ceiling. So I think it will get to maybe 4.5-ish blocks tall. We'll have to see. At the ends here, probably only about 4 blocks across, both here and on that end. I want to have stacks of crates. And then I'm thinking, so we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks across. I'm thinking these center 2 blocks could be more crates. And the reason we're going to use both crates and trunks is that crates are still technically more storage dense than trunks. Not by a whole lot, but by enough to make it worth it for bulk storage of things like sticks and, oh, I don't know, pine logs and large amounts of relieved stone or small stones that we have mined out from various places. Those are best stored in the crates, where we can just lump a whole ton of them in one crate. The trunks will be sort of sorted thematically for things that don't stack very well, like seashells, which come in 5 or 6 different colors and in a dozen or so different shapes, and tree seeds and crops and all that kind of stuff that really just doesn't lend itself well to single block, single item type storage. Now, as far as labeling our chests go, or our trunks, I should say, since these are not chests, they are trunks. Trunks can't be labeled the way that chests can. So if we were to take a trunk, and let's make a little sign here. So we have our sign, we have our trunk, and you'll see there is no adding a sign to a trunk. So that is unfortunately just out. And trunks are a bit special in that they're very left-centric. This left block here is actually where the trunk exists. Although you can interact with it on the right, the left block is where you do actually things. So if I wanted to put a sign on the trunk here, I can't. It won't go because this right side of the trunk doesn't actually exist. However, I should be able to put it on the left side, just like that. And the same is true for the ends. If I want to put a sign on the end, I can't put it here. It's going to end up right here, and signs do have collision in Vintage Story, unlike certain other block games. But once again, if we come to the left side, we can put the sign on this edge. So what we're going to have to do here is we need to make sure that we place our trunks so that on this wall, they open the way they have it facing here, so we can put signs on this side. On this wall, we need to reverse that, so we can put the signs on the trunk's left sides. Now, before we get the trunks in, that's right, they like ice. But before we get the trunks in, I think we need to get the floor done, so that we don't have to go digging around underneath the trunks to get our floors in place where they belong. And since we are here talking about this lake ice, I do want to show you that I did indeed dig out that entire lake. And we now have a whole bunch of blocks of lake ice that is very nice for sort of windowy things. Looks very nice. And it is now a nice little field here. This is where the little lake was. It's mostly grass now. And I also have the cattail roots and the cattails themselves stored somewhere. Over that way. So I believe our first order of business is going to be getting the subfloor out here and putting in a real floor. Okay, there it is. Oh, the snow reappeared. Go away, please. Thank you. So what I was thinking for the floor here is I do want to keep in with the earthy tones, but also bright and airy. And it's going to be a larger room. So I think making it bright is going to make it feel even larger. And I kind of want that because it's a storage room. It's supposed to be large. So I'm thinking for the floor is I was going to do some limestone brick and then some chert cobblestone. That could actually work. We could bring that element of the kitchen, the sort of red and white over, but in a different manner, because I want to turn the limestone into bricks, and since we have a ton of chert small stones, we can turn that into cobblestone, and that way we'll have two different textures. The kitchen is all one texture. We just use the polished blocks to make it sort of like a tile-like feel, whereas in here we can kind of make it feel different. I think we should take a look, and even though it is the same colors, I think I might enjoy how it comes out. Especially because I want to put the chert more of as a smaller accent color, where it'll mostly be covered up by the trunks and the crates once they're in place. And they'll just have it a little bit peeking out. Let's go see how that looks. Alright, coming back with a shipment of tools and supplies from the house. We have a little bit of chert cobblestone and some stairs to play with that. And we have covered making clay brick blocks before, but we haven't covered making the stone bricks that I keep talking about, at least not in this season of the guide series. So, previously, we did go ahead and we made some polished stone by taking a rock and putting our chisel and our hammer over it, our crafting grid, and we got limestone rock. From here, we can actually chisel this down further, again reducing our hammer and chisel durability once again, and we will get 2 rock slabs polished of whatever type of rock it is. Now these slabs, if you place them horizontally, have a kind of funny seam in the middle that I don't really like, and so I'm not a huge fan of using those horizontally. Vertically, they look, sometimes fine. Okay, they only look okay, I think, in this orientation. That's what it is. So yeah, these are kind of hard to use unless you really want that seam, so we're not going to use those. Instead, if you take them in your crafting grid once again, and hammer and chisel above them in the same orientation, for each slab you'll get 4 limestone or stone bricks of whatever stone type you are chiseling down. And now we are at our smallest possible unit for these. We can then go and take some mortar and turn them into brick blocks. Now you'll note we got 24 stone bricks from 3 limestone rock. If we go ahead and spread these around here, you'll see that each set of bricks and mortar makes 2 brick blocks of that type, meaning that for every rock block that goes into it, we can get 2 brick blocks out. Now you can also make stairs by removing the upper left corner. Again, it's reversed from the other bricks, I don't know why. And you can also make slabs by using 5 bricks in a sort of U shape around the mortar like this. And we're going to do some of this today because we're just doing a floor, and I'm not really planning on chiseling it, so we can save some materials by building out of slabs instead. Okay, so here's what I was kind of thinking. We would have our crates, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we come in on our 4th block, we do 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we'd have our crates resting here, and then we would have a 2-block wide walkway. I don't want to have any single block wide walkways here. And then down the center, we would have more crates on top of these chert cobblestone slabs. There we go. And we would have our crates. So imagine that these dirt blocks our crates stacked up as high as they can go. Like so. And then around both sides we would have 2-block wide walkway. Except that here we would need to have a stair block. So let's go get some of those. And we would have stairs like this, leading over to, not there, leading down into our trunks that will be down here. And we would need to fill in this probably with just something simple, something cheap because we won't ever actually see it. Maybe even just more chert cobblestone, really. But that would then let us have our trunks basically like this, and like this. And that way we can actually reach down into these and get things out from right here. And we can stack them up to here. And we can complete our little walkway across like this. We'd have our trunks right up against this as well. So we can move these just to see how that would look. So there we go. We'd have a nice trunk area right here, going all the way across to here. One over here. And then crates everywhere else. But let's go get a few crates and make sure that when we put them down, we can actually still see the chert. Alright, good morning folks. I am over here cooking some more lime into quicklime. And I also think it is time for us to go ahead and plant our flax. It's been a couple days since we planted these, but I've noticed that we did not get down to anything lower than negative 1.6 last night. So I think it's safe to go ahead and we'll plant our flax here. And there we go. And that will end up with a bit of a mismatch in timing on these, but that's okay. These are also a longer growth time anyway, so it's kind of a moot point. Now, I have also been, over the last many episodes, I've been preparing for this by casting a lot of nails and strips. So I think it is time for us to go ahead and get those out, and we'll just leave a few of you behind and bring all of these nails and strips with us here. And we're going to go ahead and make us a few more of these chert cobblestone slabs. And I've brought along these aged crates. Since we're not going to use them anyway, we will sell them eventually. I figured we could just at least use these as like a test for how does this look. You know, I almost feel like it isn't enough because you can't really see much of that floor there. So I don't think I'm going to go with that. Or I might keep that, but what I also might do is I might replace these stairs with some chert cobblestone stairs for that extra bit of pop. I also think that I want to have chert on these thresholds here, like so and so, and maybe also over here. So what happens if we take these out and replace them with the chert? Will it look good? I don't know. Let's find out. Not like that, apparently. Yeah, you know what? I kind of like that. I'm not sure I like how it butts up against this. What I might do is I might pull these in here and start them like this, and then probably have, let's see, we'll move these guys over, and I'll probably just use the full-size blocks for this and chisel them down, because we don't want to talk about chiseling stair blocks around here. Yeah, I kind of think that having that sort of chert border gives it a nice pop, and then having that sort of stair step down. And also that way we won't have the chests right up against our walkway here. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going here. I am going to dig up this sub floor and replace it with chert slabs. Oh, hello. More flint. And I think on the very end here, I'm not sure what to do about this. I don't want to leave like a random kind of unused corner, although I know we've said about needing a place to bring down our axle from our windmills, so maybe I will leave this corner unused, and if we happen to find a need for it, then we could certainly bring our axle down here. Alright, we've got our plan. Let's get to it. Alright, kids, we are back. It is the next morning, and in between clips I did a bit of calculation and design work and some thought. I think I'm actually going to rip up this church cobblestone here, because as wonderful as it is, I do think that I'm actually going to go back on the plan for putting crates in the middle. Because I feel like it would just be too cluttered still. It would still be too claustrophobic. Like, imagine here, if I can pick this up, if I had a whole bunch of crates like this, coming across here, then we'd still have this sort of problem of a very narrow corridor with storage on both sides. And I kind of want to have a little bit of an airy room down here. And I have a really fun idea with a mod that I've had on this series since the beginning, but haven't had a chance to really use until now. And so I'll get to that in a minute. But I was thinking it would be better to probably just use some sandstone cobble here in the middle, in this case slabs, to give it a nice bright feel, so it's not too red, because this chert is very, very strong. And if I wasn't about to cover up this end and that end with crates, then I'd probably consider removing and replacing these two. And you know what? I might still replace those with some more limestone. Yeah, I think I like that better. The red sort of hitting a corner here and making this sort of like a little, you know, weird 4-square grid thing, I didn't like that too much. So I think we'll just go with that. And I'm going to go ahead here and make us a few crates of 4 different kinds of wood. I brought along some larch, some pine, some maple, and some oak. And yeah, we do have more kinds than that, but I don't want to get too crazy with the different colors in here because, well, it might look too messy. If we were going to do the center strip of crates, then I might have worked with more colors and probably would have come in and replaced some later with some of the new colors we'll get from the redwood and the kapok. And there we go. Some crates very neatly stacked and not going to topple over at all whatsoever. Nope, not here. Now, I think what I want to do for the walls and the roof, let's get the ceiling in first, because I want to see how that comes out, and then we'll work on the walls, because the ceiling might sort of dictate how we need to do the walls. So let's do that. Alright, so I'm coming back with all the birch that we happen to own right now, and I think we're going to turn probably most of it into slabs. Let's start with that. That probably won't get us the whole way, but let's see. So I want to do a sort of gentle curve, gentle slope, kind of like a high school sports stadium or sports like gym. So I'm thinking if we start here, like so, and then we will come up one. So we need to come like this. So there and there. And we'll come over a second one here. And then we'll come up one more here. Oops, and I'll fall down, just like that. So a bit like that. And then we start coming back down. So there, and then finally there. So what do we think of this curve here? I think I like it. It's just that nice, gentle bit of a slope or a curve, and it makes the middle of the room feel a little bit airier. And that will give us room for the other thing I wanted to do in here, which I think I'll touch on after we get the rest of the ceiling in. Okay, not too shabby. We have one birch left over, but actually we're going to have a little bit more left over because of what I want to do next. Is that a plain birch ceiling is, well, plain, right? It's not very exciting. And yes, we are going to jazz it up with something special from a mod, but not quite yet, because I want to add some kind of support in here, and I was thinking if we used maybe a darker wood to add some kind of like support bands, that could be interesting. Now our options here are probably oak or walnut, and right now we have a bit of a surplus of walnut over the oak. I suppose we could do pine, but pine's not a real strong wood. So you know what, let's go with the walnut. So I think what we'll do here is we'll come in maybe just... You will come in 3 blocks. And maybe we'll do it on the end here too. Yeah, let's do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to slap these... Oh, I guess not. Right underneath here. Like that. Then I guess we have to remove these first. And then we can add these here. Like that. So there we go, we have one band, and then we'll come out like to maybe the, let's see, if we do 4th block, so we do 1 here, and then come out 1, 2, 3, 4, that puts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right in the middle. Yeah, I think we can do that. So we're just going to slap this bad boy right in here, and then we will bring these out like this. And no one will know the difference, right? Right. And you guys won't tell either, right? Good. And there we have our birch slab roof with walnut slab supports as band underneath. And wherever they intersect with the trunk area, we just kind of slip it under there. So yeah, if you're looking, you'll notice it, but hopefully just don't look, right? Don't look. All of you don't look. And then the nice thing about the way we're building is that we don't really have to care about how the roof looks here, because all of this is going to get covered up with sod at some point, and it'll grow nice green grass. And maybe eventually we can build a second room, maybe on top of it, maybe sort of between these two rooms. I don't know. We'll have to see. Now, about these walls, I think what we can do is let's pick a nice neutral color. And I honestly could just go with some more sandstone here, because we do have some here, but one, we're not going to see much of it because it's mostly behind the chests and the crates. So I have a little bit here in the corner, and this corner, this corner, and this corner, and that's it. So we can probably cheap out a little bit if we have a chance to, and maybe just use some sandstone, and we will continue to use the oak around here. But beyond that, I think we're going to not do much special with the walls here, because I want to put the decorations in the ceiling. And you know what? Let's go do that now. I'm going to go make it morning, and then we're going to go find a place where we can get what we need to in order to make these decorations. Alright, here we are. And today we're going to need some shears. And that is because we have a mod on called Branch Cutter. And what Branch Cutter does is it lets you change the shears from its default mode into a collect leaves mode. Like this. And so I want to go somewhere with probably some oak and or maple leaves. Although we could do birch leaves too, I suppose. I wouldn't mind that. No, let's do pine leaves. Let's go up to the mountain here. Or, you know what, we can do... We'll chance it over here. There might be more wolves and bears, but let's chance it. We're going to go into leaves mode. And we're going to start chopping down leaves after I get these vines. There we go. And what will happen is, rather than... More vines? Rather than breaking them into sticks and seeds, we will get the leaf blocks that we can then place wherever we so please. I'm going to get a whole bunch of these, and we are going to use them to sort of give ourselves a green roof, or a green ceiling in this case. And that way we'll have some indoor greenery, and since we're using pine, it should stay relatively green throughout the winter. Not as green, but less brown and gray than the other leaf options. Now you will get both the branchy and the regular leaves, and I do want to see if the same issue I had during the previews is still here, which is that if you were to cut leaves from two different trees, they wouldn't stack. Okay, and that issue is still present. So there was a change made in order to fix an issue with trees being able to chop down other trees, i.e. if you chop down one tree, it would blow out all the leaves from a different tree. And Tyron made a change so that each leaf block and log block has sort of an ID associated with it, and that prevents these from stacking properly. So I'm going to get them all from this tree here, and we probably won't need many more, if at all. Okay, and now that we have some of these leaves, we can set about putting a few of these up around here in different places. I'm thinking like a little vine that goes up there, and maybe one from over here that comes across. Maybe one that kind of like grows around our door here. That could be neat. Like, which door am I at? Yeah, this door would be fine. Maybe not quite like that. There we go. A little bit of bushy greenery, just brighten things up a little bit. Perfect. There we go. And now it's time to see if we actually have enough oak to actually build out all of these walls here. I somehow doubt that we do, unfortunately. But it's time to find out. Wow, we did. Okay. I dig it. Well, let's then get some sandstone out here. And I'm thinking maybe, why don't we bring the sandstone from here up into the walls, and we'll do a layer of maybe the sandstone cobble, and then on top of that we will do the smooth sandstone. I think that might look pretty good. Or maybe reversed. Let's find out. Okay, honest opinion. Honest opinion. I think I like this one a little better. Or do I? I don't know. No, actually, I think I actually like this one better because the sandstone cobble is a little bit darker, which helps kind of give us a nice band of brightness around here. I mean, granted, we won't see it that often, but where we do see it, I think having this here is a little bit too much. And now that I think about it, the side effect bonus is that we don't have to do quite as much chiseling over here. We can just leave these guys alone. Is it just me? Or did some of our leaves disappear? There we go. That should do. And there we go. We now have a wall that's consistent on this side and also in our kitchen. Now, one last thing before we get to putting some kind of doors on here is that we need to light this place up. This place will be very dark at night if we don't have a lantern, and I don't like that. So I am thinking that I kind of know just what I want to do for our lighting. So we have in our hand, of course, our faithful, trusty Melody Chocolate lantern, and these have served us very well, both here and in the past season. And I have a spare one. I made this to put in our kitchen today, but I was thinking that for the storage room, what if we made a lantern that really popped, especially against the colors that are in there already? So I was thinking, what if we made a bismuth lantern, or rather 2 bismuth lanterns, because we'll need 2 to fully illuminate that space there. So I thought that could be fun, and what's interesting is that bismuth has a very low melting temperature. Let's go ahead and smash a few of these. So this will smelt at 271 C, which means we could smelt this with wood and sticks and even, I'm pretty sure, fat, which we're not going to, but we could if we wanted to. However, I do have a bunch of sticks in here, and in here we could use, and I don't like these layers of sticks. This is a way of really heavily compressing your stick storage, but I don't like that you have to break them back down. You can't just tear them down in your crafting grid, or can you? Nope. But there we go. We have a lot more sticks now. Alright, I'm going to go heat these up, and we're going to hammer us out a couple new lanterns. And like that, we now have 2 bismuth lanterns. Look at how green and blue they are, with shades of purple and yellow. I think these would really pop down in that storage room. Let's go find out. You know, I could have sworn I hadn't already put a lantern in here, but I guess I did. So we have an extra lantern. Will you to go there for now. So let's head on into our newly sealed off storage room. It is very, very dark. Look at that. Now I'm thinking we can either hang these from the ceiling or like on walls like this. What do we think? On the walls, I think it's hard to see this one because of the greenery there. That's a really stark contrast. What if I move you to, say, I don't know, here? A little offset. Not much we can do about that, but I think I like the placement a bit more. We'll just have you both on opposite sides, so it's sort of radially symmetrical, even though the room itself is also not symmetrical. I think we've done it. This is a well-lit room, even with our lantern stowed, so I'm pretty happy about that. Alright, we have two main things to do before we call the episode, and that is, one, we need to put signs on all of these, facing this way, and this way. And I realized I can't put signs on these guys because, well, the stairs are in the way. That's okay, though. And the second big thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and cover this roof with some cob. I have, hopefully, plenty of it. Okay, so I don't have enough, but I have a scythe and plenty of grass. And with just a bit more placement of cob, we have our beautiful dirt roof. Beautiful, beautiful dirt roof. But as you can see over here, actually we can hop back up here, it does turn into some pretty decent grass. Now, the grass on ours is kind of sparse because we planted it during winter, but I think what we'll do is eventually we'll probably raise this up by another level, and we'll do it when it's, you know, a nice growing season, so we'll get plenty of grass growing. And that's the same reason why that sort of little spot over there is kind of bare, because the snow covered it before the grass could. But that, my friends, is the tale of our storage room. I am looking forward to filling this out and labeling these chests, which we'll get to that. You can label them with a lot of different things. If you have any charcoal or black coal or even some limestone or chalk, you can write in black or white text depending on what you're using. If you happen to be lucky enough to live around an area with malachite, you can get some green pigment for writing. You can also get blue with lapis lazuli or red with cinnabar. I'm probably not going to move our stuff over here immediately because we still have a lot of things over at the original base. We have the blacksmith area, we have the pit kilns, we have the charcoal pit that's never been used, and we have a windmill. So we aren't quite ready to move in yet, but I might start moving some of our building materials over here and setting them up. Now, as for organization, you can arrange your chests and things however works for you. I tend to organize them by type and then by more granular things like color. So I'll do wood on, I don't know, this side, maybe this top row is all wood, and then we'll do tree related things that aren't wood on this row, along with plants and flowers and things, and maybe seeds down here. And then down here, I'm not really sure yet. And then over here, I would do things like stone and metal and so on, and maybe I'd have peridotite and andesite and chert and sandstone and so on. And I think what I'll do is, since we have about the same amount of storage as we had at Lupine Ridge, I think what I'll do is, rather than what we did last time, which was where I had an entire vertical column dedicated to a particular stone type, I'll just do one trunk, because we never really filled up many of those, or even most of those boxes. And I figure what we'll do is, as I get stones, the small stones, I'll save an area of I don't know, 3x4 for the small stones, and then compress the rest of them down into cobblestone and dry stone wall and that kind of thing, just to save space, and because we just don't need that many materials. You might disagree if you're building a giant castle, but we aren't building a giant castle. We're just simple hobbits, living in a simple hobbit hole. Anyway, everyone, that will about do it for the episode. I hope you enjoyed our interior storage build, and I hope you're looking forward to this underground living as much as I am. I think it'll be fun and cozy. At some point in the next few episodes, I think we will take a break from building the house to focus on a few other mechanical bits in the game. Not like twisty, spinny, rotaty bits, but just game mechanics. But I think what I want to do in the next episodes is I want to get our foyer done, and I want to get our cellar in. And then we will work on something else, I think. Take a break from the building, maybe go adventuring, maybe find out if we have any more interesting traders in the areas that we have access to through the translocators. But that'll be for next time, and the time after that. As always, my name has been Corazar. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Also, our leaves are disappearing. That's not cool. Well, I feel cheated. Okay, bye for real this time.